Today's daf is daf ayin testing קידושין as we learn from Chanukah basis on about Sarah v'Shivya. So let's quickly review the Mishnah. Mishnah said that if a man gave reshus to his messenger to marry off his daughter, remember this is important. You can only marry off your daughter until the age of 12 and a half. Then you have reshus over her. Afterwards, she's on her own. So he gave reshus, and then he went and he married somebody else. He married her off to somebody else in between. So the question is, which one was first? If he gave permission to the messenger to do it, and the messenger got it done first, so then she's married to the messenger's chassan, otherwise married to him. And then the Mishnah said the same thing. If a woman herself, she herself was over the age of 12 and a half, she commissioned a shliach, a messenger, to marry somebody for her. Then she went off on her own and married somebody else. And we don't know, so we don't know. Whoever got married first, if you know that one was on Monday, one was on Tuesday, so the one from Monday took effect first. If you don't know, then there's no option. You're not sure. She's not sure who she's married to. The only option is for them both to give a get or one give a get and be married to the other one, right? And in fact, you're not sure which one was first. Being married to them when you have to actually get chupin and קידושין from the other one because you don't know. Maybe you didn't have chupin and קידושין. Maybe the other one was there first. Maybe the one who divorced you was there first. Could be the one you're actually married to, the one she actually took קידושין from, or she took קידושין from both, right? The קידושין was the shliach accepted קידושין from both of them. So we don't know. It doesn't make any difference if she slept with one of them or not. Obviously, if they're a Kohen, if the one that she married is a Kohen and you got divorced, she can't marry the Kohens. In that case, she'd have to just get a get and get married to somebody else who's not a Kohen. Why did you have to give the Mishnah? The Gemara says right away, why do you have to talk about a case? One case is where the father commissioned the shliach because she was under the age of 12 and a half. And then the question is, did the shliach get קידושין first or did the father do it? He went off on his own. The other case is where the girl was over 12 and a half and she did it. She commissioned somebody and then she accepted קידושין on her own. So the question is the same thing. Who did it first? Whoever did it first is the קידושין. If you don't know, you have to get a get from it. Why do you tell me both cases for? With both where the father did it and where she did it. Obviously, if she's under the age of 12 and a half, the father did it. He was the one who commissioned. He had the rights to marry her off. If she was over 12 and a half, she did it on her own. If you tell me the case with him, you might say a man understands the idea of lineage, of important classes of marriage. So you would say, okay, the father accepted the קידושין, and even though he commissioned somebody to do it, but he says, I commissioned him to get it, but he may not get as good a miyucha, so I'll do it myself. If you only that might be the father when the father did it, but a woman who's not as well versed in the rules of lineage, I might think that her קידושין is not a קידושין, even if her קידושין preceded that of the shliach. She sent out a shliach to do it. She says, well, maybe the shliach won't find anybody, so I'll accept קידושין for me. But if he got somebody, I'll rely on him, and my קידושין won't be a good קידושין, even if hers was first. She might say, what do I know? A shliach probably would get a better one than I did. I'll just did mine just in case he can't find anybody. So therefore, he tells me, no, the same thing as halacha, whether the father did it, whether the daughter herself married herself. And if you tell me the case for her, she knows who she wants to marry. She might say, you might say the other way. You might say, look, sure, she said that a shliach, but she found this guy and she really is careful and she wants this marriage to be the right one. But the father, what does he care? He might say, look, I sent out the shliach, but I got to pay him anyway. So if he found somebody, I'll rely on him. Even if I married, case not, I found somebody else just in case. But I really relied on him anyway, even though that shliach's קידושין might have taken place later than the one that he accepted. But he didn't rely on his own. He didn't really mean to accept. He didn't mean to be mevatel the shliach. That's what he would say. Look, Rashi says, "Babito, he doesn't care." Below butler the shlichas. He did not void the shlichus. He did not nullify the shliach. Maybe he won't find somebody. But if he found somebody, as you might say, a girl is very careful. She knows she wants to marry. So if she sent out a shliach, and then she found somebody else, she might say, oh, I don't care about the shliach. I found this guy. I fell in love with this guy. I want to marry this guy. Or I really like him. But a father, you might say, okay, he appointed a shliach to do it. And then he found somebody else. But he might say, I just found somebody else in case the shliach doesn't find somebody, but I really relied on him. I really don't care. I don't care that much about which guy it was. So since I appointed him, I rely on him even though mine preceded his. So you might say that that's the case. No. If he appointed a shliach, or if she appointed a shliach, if the shliach got there first, that's the one that she's married to. If he or the daughter got there first and accepted קידושין, then they are the ones, then they're married to that one, not to the one that the shliach found. And if you're not sure, then you need to get from both. Itmar. Now let's understand this. So that was a case with the shliach. He sent the shliach. Whoever was there first, he assigned the shliach. Whoever was there first, that קידושין is chal. Itmar. Kitcha aviyah b'derech kitcha atzmei. Listen very carefully now. Again, we know that until the age of 12 and a half, a father has rishus to marry her off. From the age of 12 and a half, she's a bogeres. And what does it mean a bogeres? Bogeres is a girl that she turned nara when she's 12. Normally, she has simonim. She has pubic hair at the age of 12. And she's a nara. She's a gedola now. She's a bas mitzvah. Girl's bat mitzvah at the age of 12. But we have a rule that 6 months later, by then she's developed into her female characteristics. Her breasts and stuff have developed. And then she's called the bogeres, in which she has rishus over herself. Her father can no longer marry her off. Everything is on her own. The father really has no rishus over her whatsoever at that point on. Now we have a case like this. Her father was on the road and he accepted קידושין. He found some guy. They had a drink at a bar together and he liked him and he accepted קידושין from that guy. And then, so while he was on the road, kitchatzma be'ir in the city, she was home and she accepted her own קידושין. Now, it doesn't make any difference, derech or ear, just telling you they weren't there together. The father accepted קידושין, she kept קידושין. So whose is it? Ba'arei bogeres. And now when you look at her and you say, okay, what's the story right now? You accept the קידושין, what's the story? She's a bogeres. Well, whose קידושין would be chal? Hers, not the father's. The father's a rishus bogeres. So Rabbi Marei bogeres, she's a bogeres. You look at her right now, she's a bogeres. The father had no permission. If I go and I accept קידושין for some girl off the street that doesn't know me, I said I accept the קידושין from this guy on your behalf. That doesn't mean anything. I'm not empowered to do that. So here also the father's not empowered to do it if she's a bogeres. Rabbi Marei bogeres l'fnei. Right now she's a bogeres. We assume that she was a bogeres today when she accepted the קידושין, and the father had no rishus. So even if the father accepted קידושין, it's meaningless. Shmuel says, no, we're not sure. We're not sure who she's married to. Therefore, if it was the same day, we're not sure. That means you need to get from both again. Same idea. You don't know who she's married to. She accepted קידושין. Maybe the father's was first. Maybe hers was first. But the truth is that it's not a question of first or not. Here, the father accepted קידושין in the morning, and now she accepted קידושין, let's say, in the afternoon. So he says, we're not sure when was she a bogeres. That's the issue. If she was a bogeres in the morning, the father had no permission. If, as a bogeres, she sent her father as a shliach, she could be 20 years old and says, Papa, please accept קידושין for me. Do me a favor. She can appoint a shliach, but here she didn't do that. He accepted קידושין for the daughter based on the idea that he thought he had the authority to do so. Then she accepted קידושין on the idea that she felt she had the authority to do so. Whose קידושין is good? Rav says, well, right now she's a bogeres. Her קידושין is chal. Shmuel says, no, we're not sure. Now, Amos, what are we speaking about? When did this take place in her life? As we said,
change from bogeres now to bogeres. Is that at the date?
Oh, very good. So it's basically a maximum of 6 months, but she could even do it earlier. If she developed earlier, she would be bogeres. So that's the question. That's exactly what the Gemara asks now. Amos, when did this take place? When did these two קידושין take place? If it was in the middle of the 6 months between Nar and bogeres, why would Rav say she's a bogeres? Okay, right now you checked her today, and she's a bogeres. Fine, but hashter the bogeres, she just became a bogeres now when you checked her. If it was in the middle of the 6 months, we know that she's a nara until she developed. So you checked her now, she's developed. Yeah, but maybe 10 minutes ago or a day ago, whenever she accepted קידושין, she was still a nara. It was in the middle of the period between 12 and 12 and a half. So why would Rav say over here she's a bogeres now when you looked at her? Maybe now she is, but maybe 10 minutes ago or yesterday she wasn't. She's in the period between 12 and 12 and a half. We're talking about she's already 12 and a half. It's 6 months after her 12th birthday. Her name is Shmuel Chashin Kedusha Shneim. Here Shmuel would say we're worried about the Kedusha of both of them. But Shmuel ain't bein naras lebagros so Shisha Chadash Rav. Even Shmuel's moda, the maximum period once she's a nara, 12 years old, the maximum time that it takes for her to achieve bogeres status is 6 months. So if it was after 6 months, if she's already 12 and a half, how can Shmuel say, we're not sure whose marriage it was? What are you talking about? The father's no rishus after 12. If it's in the middle of that 6 month period, why would Rav say he's sure that she's a bogeres? Because she's a bogeres now. Maybe she just turned to bogeres a few minutes ago, or yesterday, or this morning. So let's read her. The Kaddish Bahu Yom Meshum Shicha. You know, when she was Mekadisha, the Kiddush, both Kiddushin took place on the day that she reached the age of 12 and a half. Right? That's what happened. So the father did it in the morning and she did it in the afternoon. Here's the problem. If it was the middle of the 6 months, Rob wouldn't be sure that she's a bogeres. Maybe time, normally, 12. The maximum is 6 months. It could be any time in the 6 months, but in the middle of the 6 months, you don't know. You don't know for sure that she was a bogeres then. If it was after 6 months, for sure, she was a bogeres. So what's the issue? It took place on the day that she was 12 and a half. The Kaddish Bahu Yom the Meshum Shisha. Rav says, right now, she's a bogeres. You look at her right now. She's 12 and a half now. She's a bogeres, midhash bogeres. Since she's a bogeres right now in the evening after she accepted Kiddushin, but Safran Amagos in the morning also we assume she was a bogeres. So Shmuel says, no. Hashdu Daisi Simonim. Right now she brought Simonim, meaning Simonim of Bagres. Right now she turned maybe a day ago or 12 hours ago or 6 hours ago. Maybe she wasn't. Okay, so we have this machlokas Rav and Shmuel. Now, we'll see at the end of the daf that we pass like Rav. She's a present today. She turned bogeres, so we assume she's a bogeres. That's it. Tosas points out over here an interesting thing. He says, "Why are we talking about? Why is Rav and Shmuel talking about a case where they both accept Kiddushin? It could be the same thing if only the father accepted Kiddushin. Right? Why aren't you talking about a case where the father accepted Kiddushin? Is it a Kiddushin or not?" So he says, that if the father accepted, because we say, look at her chazaka, she's right now. Until now, she was a chazaka that she was single, and now he's assured you're not sure if the father's condition was good or not. We assume that you have the chazaka. There, Shmuel wouldn't argue, right? Right, but over here, where she's for sure married to one of them, right? The father accepted Kedushin in the morning, then she accepted Kedushin. So which one is it? They both. She's either married to the father's fiance or she's married to her fiance. Now there's no longer chazaka that she's a pnuya. She's married to one of them. So which one? So Shmuel says we're not sure. But if only the father accepted Kedushin in the morning, we're not sure if there was a marriage there or not. Chazaka because she was single. We assume she's still single. So, but we'll see though. We pass like Rabbi in this case. So what Rav says, we look at her right now. Right now she's a bogeres. We assume she was a bogeres this morning also. That's what Rav says. Shmuel says no, we're not sure. We're not sure. Therefore, we don't know who she's married to. You have to get both. So Shmuel says, Hashud, I see maybe she bought this one now. Now the Gemara Skash on Shmuel. Yeah.
Still question, which is priority, the date or the simanim? Because if she turns into 12 and a half on such a date,
right.
At the beginning of that date, she's already a bogeres.
She could be, or she could be not. If 12 and a, if the 12 the day that she completes her 12 and a half day, at that point, after the next day, like on her 12th and a half birthday, the birthday is really the day plus, right? The birthday is the extra day that going into the next year. When's your birthday? So after the 12 and a half months, if it's the very next day, yeah, then she's a presumption she's a bogeres. But here we're talking about a date she's going to turn bogeres that day, which means that we don't know. We don't really know. So if you checked her, yes, she looks like a bogeres. She's a bogeres now. Rav says, she's a bogeres right now. We assume she was a bogeres in the morning also. That morning also she was a bogeres because not likely that it changed in the middle of the day. Therefore, she's married only to the one that she accepted Kiddushin from, not the father's. And Shmuel says, we're not sure. So the Gemara says now, Kasha's on Shmuel. Shmuel says you're not sure. We'll show you where cases are where you look at a situation right now and you say, that's how it was 10 minutes ago too. That's how it was earlier today too. Where do we see it? In other words, there's what we call chazaka, presumption. You see something now, you have to assume it was like that before too. So the Gemara asks these kashrus on Shmuel, a few kashrus on Shmuel. How is it different than a mikveh? Famous case. You have a mikveh. Mikveh has to have 40 saw and 40 saw of water, and it had 40 saw of water. Now at the time mikveh sheninda. Now they checked the mikveh lady or the mikveh man checked the mikveh. It was checked, but it's missing. Now you checked out, it's only got 39 or 39 and a half. So it's not a kosher mikvah. Now, when did it become non-kosher? When did the water evaporate or pour out? When did it lose it? Now, if you check it every 5 minutes, that's not a problem. But let's say you haven't checked it in a week. There's a chasar called Hashanah Agav Mafreya. Anything that you were matar in that mikvah, you went to the mikvah, a woman went to the mikvah, a man went to the mikvah, you put kelim that were tummy in the mikvah, the mafreya going back, even though normally a suffix, which is suffix to Mishus Yachid is Tameh, we learn out from Sota, and Mishus Rabim is Tar, but over here we say everything is Tameh. Why? Because anything you check, right now it's Chaser. You took something to this mikvah last week, and it wasn't checked in the last week. You have to assume it was Chaser then too. Right now the mikvah is not kosher. It wasn't certified between last week and today. You have to assume that anything you went to the mikvah last week is also Tameh. Vade Tameh. Why? Why don't you say you're not sure? Why do you say it's Vade Tameh? See, if it would be a suffix, you'd say it depends if it's Rishus Rav and Rishus Yachid.
Why don't you say it stays in its chazaka?
Very good. So why don't you say that? We'll say, there was a chazaka when you checked it. Yeah, but now you have a chazaka that it wasn't. Now you checked it right now. Now you have so you don't know.
Last week.
Okay, last week. So we'll see. We'll talk about that. So he says, either way, it's tamei. So there you see it's tamei. He says, shiny us and equal name. There it's different because there's a chazaka right now. Besides that, it was okay. There's a chazaka that the person was tamei. Let's say it was a man who went to the mikveh. He had to go to the mikveh. He was tamei, right? There's a chazaka that he was tamei. And there's a chazaka now. Look at it now. Right now, the chazaka, the current presumption is that it's no good. Yeah, it was once good. That it was once good doesn't help. You have a different chazaka now. You're saying, yeah, but it was good a month ago when you checked it then. Yeah, that was a chazaka then. But now you know differently. Now there's perception of chazaka is right now. The chazaka now cancels that earlier chazaka. Go back to the time that it was checked. Check the time that it was checked. And a chanami, if it was checked a month ago and a day after that month you did something, right? A day after. It was only that day that you checked it then. If you put anything in then, you would know. But we don't know anything, but it evaporated between a month ago and now. You don't know when it took place. So he says it's Vade Tameh. What? So you say, yeah, why don't you say it's a suffix? So Shmuel says, there you have two chazakas, you have a chazak against you because there's a chazak that the guy was Tameh. The guy went to the mikvah a week ago. He was Tameh. Now you look at the mikvah is no good. Chazaka is no good. He didn't go to the mikvah. Why don't you say, put the mikvah on the chazaka that Avram's talking about, and say there was a chazaka of a month ago when you checked it then that wasn't missing anything. That presumption is gone because it is missing. You can't say, I checked it a month ago it was okay. Yeah, but right now it's no good. Maybe it evaporated a second after you checked it a month ago. We don't know. So you're also fine. So check her right now. Like why don't you say like Rob says, check her right now. Right now she's a bogeres. So assume that the קידושין she accepted from her fiance is the valid one. So Gemara says hashtahu the boger. Maybe she just became a bogeres now. Hasanami hashtahu the chasur. So why don't you say also maybe now it's missing the water. Look at it a month ago. In other words, you have various chazakas. Gemara says hasam tarti l'riusa hachachal l'riusa. Here's the problem. There you have two functions against you. You have a bad mikvah right now, and you have a man who was tamei, right? You have two negative conditions. The man was tamei. We don't know if he was tamei. Did he become tamei or not? And you have a mikvah which is bad. That's 2 against 1. That's 2 against 1. Yeah, it was kosher a month ago, but you have 2 against 1. So that's why hasam. It's a hasam tataresa. Hachachala reasa. Here there's only one reasa. What's the reasa? That maybe she wasn't a bogeres. Maybe this morning the father married her up before she was bogeres. We're not sure. So it's a suffix. That's why Shmuel says it's a suffix. With Shmuel, so another kasha on Shmuel. So that's one case where you say by mikvah vade because you have 2 against 1. Ushmuel ma'ashem mechavos. What's the difference of chavos? The Tanya Abba. Here's what a man does this. A man wants to drink wine, so he tells you, you know what? I have wine in this barrel here. I'll take the truma from this. This whole barrel is going to be for truma. This whole barrel is going to be for truma. So truma, I'm taking truma from there, and I'm going to drink this wine over here. Now, he went to drink more wine as time went on. Every time he said, "I'll take 2 loaves from there, from that barrel," and he checked the barrel periodically to make sure the wine there it was still good. And he kept doing that. Then it turned out that the barrel turned bad. It went sour. It turned vinegar. And he holds that wine and vinegar are not the same. You can't take truma from vinegar on wine. So what do you do? What do you do now? If you say, so he says, Kol Gilma Yama, there's two ways to learn Kol Gilma Yama. The Pashup shot is that the last 3 days he found out that it was no good. Any truma that he took in the last 3 days from that one was no good. Is no good, and he has to take truma over again. And if he actually dished it out from there, and we assume that it's no good, it's not really truma. Kol Gilma Yama Vadai is for sure. The last 3 days is for sure no good. It's vinegar. Prior to the 3 days is a suffix, right? Ramina, okay, is a suffix. So that's a suffix. That sounds like Shmuel. Ramina chavas a mikvah, but yes, kasha from chavas a mikvah. Why by mikvah do we assume for sure that it's no good? If you checked it now and the mikvah's chaser is missing, it's no good. And why by chavas do we say that it's not for sure? For the last 3 days we assume it's that, but before that it's a suffix. Why? He explained. Mantana Chavas Rav Shimon. The one who learns by Chavas that it's a suffix. In other words, 3 days prior. There's another way to learn Rashi that it's the first 3 days since he checked it a month ago. But the Pashut is that the last 3 days is Vade Chomas. Before that, it's a suffix. The one who learns by Chavas it's a suffix also is by Mikvah it's a suffix. Mantana Chavas is Rav Shimon. The Gabi Mikvah Nami Speikim Shafi also said it's a Mikvah Tanya. Here is a proof that by Mikvah also Rav Shimon holds it's a suffix. The Tanya Kol Tar Shnasol Gabav Lemafreya. If you found the mikvah's chaser now, anything that you went to the mikvah for, bein b'shus yach, bein b'shus rab, is tmeya, is bari tamei. Rab Shimon omer b'shus rab, it's a suffix. Therefore, b'shus rab Torah, b'shus yach tolim. Shimon doesn't hold like we hold in general that a suffix tam b'shus rab is Torah and b'shus yach is tamei, because he says that's by soaked. It's different because there's regulaim ladava that she probably cheated on her husband. Here we're not sure. He says tom, we're not sure. Tom means it's suspended. We don't know. But the point is that in a chanami, the one who holds by mikvah that it's the one who holds by truma, by the chavis, by the barrel, that it's a suffix. That's Rav Shimon. Aval Rabbanan tevel amafreya, but the Rabbanan hold that it's bari tevel amafreya. In other words, that you come and you check the barrel now, you have to assume that it was tevel. Everything you gave from there was tevel. And it's bari tevel, meaning truma wasn't taken from there. And if somebody wants to drink that vinegar now, they could take vinegar. They could drink the whole thing. It's not truma, and he'd have to give truma all over again. So what do you see again? Just like by mikvah, it's vadai tamei. We assume that since the mikvah's chaser now was chaser vadai before, the same thing. Since the chavis now turned from wine into vinegar, we assume it was vinegar the entire time. So why doesn't Shmuel agree with that? Why does Shmuel say here it's a suffix? This again, shani hasam b'iglamei. There we also have a chazak against it. Number one. There's a chazaka. We see now that it wasn't good truma because it's vinegar. You assume now what is now is what was. That's what presumption means. And you also have another chazaka that the tevel, that the other wine that you want to drink is tevel. You didn't take truma from there. You have a chazaka, two chazakas against you. One that the truma is not truma. One that the tevel is truma. It's tevel. Be'emer lo niskan. It wasn't fixed. It wasn't repaired. It wasn't qualified to drink. So put the wine in the chazaka. The barrel of wine was wine originally. And maybe it didn't become chametz. It became vinegar in front of you. What's the word? It fermented in front of you. It's fermented right now. So Hachanami already bogeres something, but also so wants to say that she is grown up in front of you. She's a bogeres. So hashku the burger. Maybe she has become burger now. So they're also Hachanami name hashku, but maybe just fermented now and it was okay till now. It's a suffix. It says hasam tarkla reasa again. Hachachala reasa. Over here, it's only one thing. There's two bad things. Meaning, there's two bad things. Number one, it's fermented in front. The barrel that you're looking at is fermented in front of you. Number two, the wine that you want to drink from there, that barrel was for truma, and the wine you want to drink over here was tevel till now. So you have a chazaka that this is not fit to drink, and you have a chazaka that's not truma. Hachachada reasa here, but over here it's only one reasa. It's only one negative condition. Right? She's only one race. Maybe she's a bogeres now, maybe not. There's no chazaka. You can't say she had chazaka till now. She was an hour because today on the 12th and a half on their 12th and a half birthday, or the day that she's about, the way that finishes her 12 and a half years, meaning it's 12, she's going to be, her birthday is the next day, but the 12 and a half day, the day that completes her 12 and a half months, there's no chazaka there because she's, it's what we call a chazaka hasul ishtanos. It's going to change. We know that the maximum number of days, she could turn a bogus before. Maybe if the girl develops early, like today, girls develop much earlier than they developed yesteryear. So maybe she develops early, maybe she's a bogeres right after the age of 12. But the maximum is 12 and a half. So now she's on a 12 and a half birthday, or the day before 12th birthday, she's for sure, she's about to change. So there's no chazaka for there. So therefore, that's how Shmuel answers it. So again, in the case of a suffix, in this case, where a father accepted קידושין for her on the morning that she was 12 and a half, and she accepted קידושין later on in the evening, whatever, and now you check her, Rav says she's Vade Bogeres, because she's about to change that day, and right now, you look at her situation right now, she's a Bogeres in front of us, we assume she was a Bogeres this morning as well. Shmuel says it's a suffix. So the Gemara says now, as we turn out Tamid Beis, maybe it's really Rav and Shmuel's machlokas between the following Tanakh. What's the case over here? We're talking about a Shchimira. Gemara says like this: Shchimira is a man on his deathbed. If he gives all his assets away, he didn't want it to fall into a question of a will, and who's going to get to, and the son's going to get double, and the daughters are going to get nothing, and all that. He did what a smart man would do. He gave it all away. If he gives it all away, and he didn't leave anything for himself, he gave every last cent away. Then miraculously he recovered. So the rule is he gets it all back. Why? Because since he gave it all away, he obviously gave it all away on the assumption that he was about to die. Turned out he didn't die. It was a mistake, or somehow he was recovered. He can keep it all. If he kept something for himself when he gave it away, he hedged his bets. He didn't want to give every last cent away. He gave most of it away, but he left some stuff for himself. Then even if he recovered, he's not entitled to it anywhere because he hedged himself. Now, what happens is he recovered. He gave it all away. And now he says, okay, forget it. I want it back. I was about to die before. They said, no, you weren't about to die. You were of, how do they say in the will? These of sound mind and body, like he knew what he was doing and he wasn't sick and all that. They said, no, you gave it away legitimately. A fight breaks out between the people that he donated the money to and himself. He says, I was sick before. I'm entitled to get it all back. Again, because he gave it all away. And they say, no, you were fine. Me motzi mi, who's the motzi mechaver harai over here? Who's getting it? So machlokas here. Who motzi mi adam? He could take it away from them below. He doesn't have to bring proof that he was sick. You bring the what do they call that? When you leave the hospital, you leave the doctor, they give you a sikum machala. You don't have to bring that. They didn't have printed ones in those days from the computer. So he doesn't have to bring proof. He says I was sick, and that's it. But if they want to prove, they say no, you weren't sick. We're entitled to get all the money, all the assets. They have to bring proof. That's what Rav Yaakov says. Why? Because we'll see what Rav Yaakov says. Yeah, they'd have to bring proof that he wasn't sick, correct? Okay, well, they can prove it. He went to work every day, whatever. Rav Nassan Omer, Nassan says, in Barihu, if he's healthy right now, he has to bring Olav Lavi Raya Shayishkima. He has to bring proof that he was sick. If he's healthy right now, we assume he's healthy. Look at it right now. Sounds like Rav, right? If what? If he's sick right now, they have to bring proof that he was sick. If he's sick right now and he's not sick right now, that's he recovered. That's like, in other words, if you look at his current situation, if he's okay now, we have to assume he was okay before. He has to bring proof that he was sick. If he's sick right now, then they'd have to bring a proof. Look at it right now. Name a Rav Damkavdasan. Rav who says, look at the situation right now. Right now she's a Bogeres. She's a Bogeres this morning too. You look at the presumption, if she's a Bogeres right now, like the case of the mikveh, the mikveh and the chavos, you could say there's two reyuses there. There's two negative conditions. But still, Rav, that goes like Rav, that you look at the presumption. Right now there's a chazaka. Right now this is how she was. She's a Bogeres. You assume she was a Bogeres before. Same thing with Rav Nassan says. Nassan says, look, if he's healthy right now, he has to bring proof that he was sick. You look at him right now. If he's sick right now, then they have to bring a proof. Shmuel Damar Rav Yaakov. Shmuel goes like Rav Yaakov. Why? Because Shmuel says we're not sure. So Rav Yaakov says also there what that he can take it out of their hands without proof, and they can't take it out. They can't take it from him unless they have a proof. So Shmuel will go like Rav Yaakov, right? right? Imam the Bachzik Menachasa, Main Saf Laviraya, Sheikhmafilu, Bari Aksha, we're not sure. That we don't say B'Shas that when he gave it, he was, we don't say Minashta Bari Mikar B'Shas, we don't assume that. So the Gemara says, no, that's no proof. You want to say Rav goes like Rav Nosson, you look at the presumption, whatever he is right now is what he was, right? That's what Rav Nosson says. What he is what he was. If he's healthy right now, you assume he was healthy before too. He had to bring proof that he was sick. Bring a sick note from the doctor. Bring the sikum machala. And Rabbi Yaakov and Shmuel will say we're not sure. Like Rabbi Yaakov, no, you don't assume that. You don't assume what is now is what was. The Rav will say no proof. I know that I could even go like Rabbi Yaakov. I can look at Rabbi Yaakov. Where did Rabbi Yaakov say over there what? That he doesn't have to bring proof. The sick man doesn't have to bring proof. So the money has a chazaka. His assets have a chazaka. Where were they till now? They were in his possession. Now these people who are the donees want to take it away. No, they have to bring proof. But over here, can you say let the goof be on a chazaka what it is that what it was before? You can't say that, right? Because she's 12 and a half. Today she's supposed to change from Nara to Bogeris. You can't say leave it where it was. In the case of the money, you could say it was always his money, right? We don't know what happened. We don't know who's telling the truth. Was he sick or wasn't he sick, right? They claim he wasn't sick. He said he was sick. We don't know. So leave the money where it was. But over here, you can't say leave the girl the way she was. She was an hour till now. She was an hour today too. We know she's going to change today. Shmuel Amar and Shmuel say also. Another mefil Rav Nosson. I can even go like Rav Nosson who says over there. You look at the chazaka. Look at what the man is now. I can't look at Rav Nosson Hassam the Kuli Amachas. Most people are healthy. Meaning, don't mean healthy that they're not. Don't mean that they're not taking pills and they don't have conditions and they don't have what we call previous, pre-existing conditions. But most people are basically healthy. They're not on their deathbed. So this guy wants to say that he was deathly sick last week. He's got to bring proof, right? He has to bring proof. Here is she taking herself away from a chazaka that she was a nara till now, and now she wants to prove it. She doesn't take herself out of chazaka. She automatically takes herself out of chazaka because it's her 12th and a half birthday. Right? If you assume that she's a nara, when we say maybe she's not taking herself out of chazaka because today is the day that she's turning from nara to bogeris, and we're not sure. So Shmuel will say, even though Rav Nosson says over there that if he's a bari now, he has to bring proof that he was sick. That's different because he's trying to change his status. Most other human beings are healthy. He wants to say he wasn't healthy. Prove it. Bring a sikum machala. But over here, when she says that she's a bogeris, she's not changing her status from everybody else because today is her 12th birthday. Today it's very possible that she was an hour in the morning and now she's a bogeris in the afternoon. We really don't know. When Rashi says, when we're not sure if she's an hour or not, she's taking herself from a chazaka of many other naras. She's not taking herself a chazaka. Everybody else is a nara. Everybody else who's on her 12th birthday is also going from being a nara to being a bogeris. She's not changing her status versus everybody else. So therefore, the two things aren't comparable. The case of the Shibna Ra is not comparable to this, and Rav and Shmuel can go either way. Nema Kani Tanai, though, let's say Rav and Shmuel go like the following Tanai. We have the case that we're going to bring down now is exactly the case we were talking about. Kitcha Abi about Baderach, her father's Mekadosh in the morning. The Kitcha Atzma of the ear, and she was Mekadosh herself in the city like that day. Very Bogeris. Talachana Re Bogeris Lefenenu. Well, once she's a Bogeris, we assume that her marriage is a good marriage. Tiny Yachashina, like we're not sure. My love, Chayk Rav. I'm sure the one first one goes like Rav, second one is like Shmuel. Isn't it obvious that it's Machlokas? Rav and Shmuel is the same as Machlokas. Low. Even Shmuel. Both can go like Shmuel. Why? Shmuel says that it's a suffix regular, but if she says here we're not sure. In the case we're talking about Namish and the Gemara before, she herself isn't sure, right? But right now when you check her, she's a bogeris. But when Shmuel's moda, if she says no, Papa, when you married, I was a bogeris this morning too. If she denies it and she says no, she's waking up now. It's not she's saying, speaking where she says to her father, I was already a bogeris yesterday. I was a bogeris yesterday. So in a case like that, even Shmuel would be moda that she's a bogeres. So if that's the case, since there's no machlokas in the brisa, right? Because you're saying that one brisa says that she's a bogeres, and one brisa says we're not sure. So one says bogeres is where she claims she's a bogeres from yesterday, but there's no machlokas between the two brises. So say since the two brises don't argue, Amroi Namila pligi. Maybe Rav and Shmuel also don't argue. Rav speaking about where she said she claimed she's a bogeres already, and Shmuel's talking about where she made no such claim. But Tizbra, how can you say that? Her Rav Yosef read Rav Nashia Mitvil, this Rav Yosef read Rav Shmuel. Oh, but if the Kva said Rav, he passed like Rav. That what she's a body of bogeres, and her father's kedushin is meaningless, and she's definitely married to the one that she accepted kedushin from. The Ikrit Shmuel, and Shmuel was upset by that. Who is this Rav Yosef Rav Nashia from Vil? He thinks he knows what he's doing. Everybody was portioned out. Everybody was divided up and got a small portion of chachma, so to speak. This rabbi, he thinks he's great. In other words, who are you to say that the kedushin from the second guy is a kedushin and the father's is not a kedushin? You're such a big talmid chacham. Like Shmuel was upset about that. He saw if he said there's no machlokas, why was he makbid? Shmuel Rav was talking about a case where she claimed herself that she was already a bogeres and it's not. So Dilmiki Avad of the Mechashasa, maybe where Paskin was a case where she herself said that I was a bogeres from yesterday, and that everybody would be moda. Since we say that that's not, since we see that that didn't take place, but Shmuel got angry at him, shows that Shmuel argued whether it was whether she was makish or not. So the machlokes Rav and Shmuel stands. Amalei Marzutra Ravashi. Achim this one. Maybe Shmuel looks like Shmuel. Ravashi looks like Rav. Looks like more passes like Rav. Tosa says even though normally we pass in like Rav, throughout the Gemara when we pass like Rav when it comes to Yisur, we pass like Shmuel when it comes to Dinah Mamonis, to financial matters. So why did the Gemara have to say every we pass like Rav? It's obviously we're talking about Yisur. We're talking about marriage or not marriage. Still, since some pass like Shmuel, the Gemara goes to the trouble to pass like Rav, which means that since she's a bogeres right now, we assume she was a bogeres earlier in the morning, and she's definitely married to the second guy, not to the first guy. But Shmuel disagreed. Says the Mishnah. Now, in the previous Mishnah on Shabbos, we learned Mishnah said over there that when it comes to Kohanim, especially, a Kohen has an obligation to check into the yichus of his wife. Right? You're marrying somebody. Hanose Isha Kahanis, marry Isha Kahanis. If you marry, we're talking about a Kohen really marrying a woman. You have to check 4 generations back on each side. It's 8 women, according to Levi and Yisrael. So you have to add on more, so even up to 12, whatever. So you have to check back. So what, in other words, when it comes to yichus, with the Torah is more to discuss, we're talking about yichus, we're talking about eating truma, we're talking about yichus for marriage. We want to be very careful, especially among Kohanim, that they marry properly, that they're not married, that there's no mamzerim in the family, etc. So, Misha Yatzeh, so here also, in terms of checking, how much do we believe? We saw the other day that a father's believed to say his son is a Bechor, and he's believed to say his son is Ben Grushin Chalutza, right? As long as it doesn't affect the 3rd generation, he's believed to say his son's a Mamzer. He's believed to say his son's a Mamzer, right? Normally, we had a Machlokas in the Mishnah. You believe to say that the kid is a Mamzer or not? The father is believed. Rabbi Yehuda says they're believed, and we pass him like Rabbi Yehuda that the father's believed to declare the lineage of his son whether kosher or not, as long as it doesn't affect the 3rd generation. But if you're just talking about his son, he's believed. So what about in this case? A man was married and he went overseas, came back years later. Came back. Now the wife had children. Now they had children. He went overseas just with his wife. He got married here. Went overseas. Comes back years later, nobody recognizes the wife, and he says, "Look, this is my wife and my children. This is my wife. I got married here. I have a קידושין, but they didn't have photos and things like that. He had a ksuba, right? He proved that he was married to her then, and he says, "This is the wife." You know, they didn't have tudat zahud with pictures and things like that. So he says, "This is my wife, and these are her children." He doesn't have to bring proof of her yichus. Why? Because she has to bring proof that this is his wife and children, because he got married here in Israel. Right? We know you don't have to bring proof at all. Because they checked her out when they got married, like we saw back at Ayin Vav. When he got married, he was checked out. He doesn't bring proof again. He assumed that you can assume this is his wife and these are her children. The children, we'll see, you're talking about where the children are clinging to the mother, even though we didn't have a chazak on the children. The children weren't born here. When he comes back now, the children are clinging to the mother. We assume that the wife is his wife because he got married here and she was checked out then, and the children are clinging to the mother, they're also kosher. Let's say he says, Mesa, my wife died in Chutz La'aretz, but now these are her children. Maybe he has to bring proof that these are her children. He doesn't have to proof that his wife was his wife because he got married to her there, but she's not here now. So they're not the children. How do you know who the children are? Maybe these are children that he just brought back, that he adopted or got for whatever. Maybe they're children of Goyim or Mamzerim. He has to bring proof that they are kosher. Isha, let's say I got married overseas. So this is the woman I married. These are her children. He has to bring proof that this is his wife, that she's kosher. In other words, he has to bring proof that his wife is kosher because we don't know who she is. But he doesn't have to bring proof on the children because once he brings proof that his wife is kosher, check back generations or yichus, etc., and the children are clinging to her, then we assume that they are her children. So if you bring proof that the mother is kosher, the children are also kosher. Mesa available now. Let's say I married overseas. She died, and these are her children. Then you have to bring proof that the wife is kosher and the children, because we don't know that these are her children. They're not clinging to anybody because he doesn't come back with a wife. He went over there. He went overseas single. Says I got married and I had children. These are the children. The wife is dead. So you have to bring proof that the wife is kosher and the children are kosher. Now, you have to bring proof that you have to bring proof that they are from their wife. If you can prove that the children are kosher, presumably you prove that the mom is kosher too. You have to bring proof that she is kosher and that these are her children, or bring proof that these children are kosher. Either way, we don't care about the wife; she's gone. We talk about the fact that you don't have to bring proof on the children. That's if they are clinging to their mother. Like this last case, when they're not clinging to the mother, or the case where he said the wife died, Mesa ve'elu banea, he has to bring a proof because they're not clinging over there. And if they're clinging and you bring proof on the mother, that's good enough. He says, I married somebody overseas. Maybe Rav has to bring proof on the Isha. Rav doesn't bring proof on the children, but if they're little, maybe let's say his older children who are not clinging to the mother, then he has to bring proof. Because he's bringing a proof on the older, because he's bringing a proof on the mother. If you bring a proof on the mother and the children are clinging to the mother, then that's good enough. Then you know that they are the children of the mother. So if you bring a proof on the mother, that's good enough for proof on the children that the children are kosher. And as we'll see, girls can marry kohanim, etc. That's if he has one wife. Let's say he has two wives. Maybe he's bringing proof for both. Rashi explains like this. Take a look at Rashi, 3 lines from the bottom of the page. I married one wife, right? Let's say there were two women who Mesach, and one of them died. And these are the children of the deceased. Maybe he has to bring that she has good lineage. He has to bring that they were her children. Even if they are clinging to the other wife, because since he has two wives, right? He says, I married two wives, and one of them died. So, and he says these children, these little children are the children of the other one. That's no proof because maybe they're right. They are the children of this one that's here, that's alive. That doesn't mean anything because maybe they're clinging to her because there were two wives in the house and the children are clinging to the other one, right? The other mother is like a stepmother to them and raised them. So again, Rashi says, but one of them died. And these are the children of this one who's alive. Maybe Raya Lashim, you have to bring proof that she Yucheses, you have to prove that they are her children. Maybe they are the children of the other one who died, and she raised them. So in the case where when he has a wife there, if he had two wives, you have to prove. Now, he may deny that he had two wives. He might just say, this is the wife and these are her children, right? He might say that. But if he admitted that there were two wives, we don't know who the children belong to. If one of the wives died, maybe these are the children of the deceased, and she's just clinging to this one because it's the one who raised her. What is all this nogea? So we'll see in tomorrow's daf. What is this for? Is this for what's the purpose of checking out their yichus? Is it for eating kachim? right? Kachimim kohenu ochlim b'kachei gvul. Mishmei raya ali shazu shiksher lakuna samcha ala pona makuchan orchel lomer banei bein chalalim, that they are good kohanim and they can eat kachim. Or we're talking about for yichus, that to marry to other kohanim. So tomorrow's more we'll discuss that issue. Have a good day.
Yeah.
Good to see you, Ruby.
Thank you. Thanks. We'll see you.
I see you're in Florida, right? You made it.
We made it. Baruch Hashem.